Hello everyone, JH Medium here. Today I am in South Korea. Good morning from Seoul, South Korea. Well, this is not my first time in the country. It's my first time on the actual Korean peninsula. I've only ever been to Gyeongju when I was a little kid, so I've never visited Seoul before. I'm visiting when the Korean won is the weakest it has been for a very long time. So why not come right now? This time I'm here in South Korea for another solo trip. Unfortunately, Rika wasn't able to get her Korean visa. Even though I definitely prefer traveling with Rika than traveling alone, but I still think I can make the most of it. We have so much to see in this beautiful city. My first stop today in Seoul is the Gyeongju Palace. Admission costs 3,000 won, but if you wear a traditional hanbok, it's actually free to enter. Since Rika is not here, we can't take photos of each other. I decided just to buy a ticket and go in. Finished in 1395, Gyeongju literally means the palace greatly blessed by heaven. Back then, it was the centerpiece of the Joseon Empire, the ruling dynasty of the Korean peninsula. The palace flourished for nearly 2 centuries. However, during the Imjin War in the late 1500s, the original palace was completely burned down and destroyed. The complex remained largely unused for over 200 years. Efforts to rebuild only began during the latter years of the Joseon Empire. Gyeongju has since gradually been reconstructed, with the latest phase following a restoration plan developed in 1990. Even today, work is still ongoing. So this one we see right here today was actually the one restored after 1990. I really like this hall that surrounds this palace. The pillars just go on and on forever and it looks really cool. Almost everyone here is wearing hanbok. I guess that kind of makes me look like the odd one out. The centerpiece of the palace is without a doubt Gyeongju, the throne hall. During the Joseon dynasty, it was used for royal ceremonies, but I think the intricate patterns inside can be a bit dizzying to look at. Walking through the main area, I originally thought this palace was quite small, but it turns out there's a whole garden surrounding the area, and it's a lot bigger than I expected. I guess this garden will look better in the warmer months when there's actually leaves on the trees. Right now it does look kind of barren, but it has its own style to it. Or maybe when it snows in the winter it should look really beautiful as well, but it almost never snows here. So before I leave the palace, every day at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. there is a changing of the guard ceremony, and I'm gonna go catch the 2 p.m. one right now.
costume from the 15th century. Dear visitors, the event is taking place without a musical performance in observance of national mourning.
After standing in -5-degree weather for a while, it's good to come inside for some hot lunch. I got myself a kimchi jjigae. When she served it to me, it was boiling hot. Literally boiling. After a warm afternoon meal, it's time to go explore more of the city. It's around 3:30 right now, and since most of the tourist sites close at 5, I'll save sightseeing for another day. Instead, I'm going to spend the afternoon checking out some artistic little shops and getting some souvenirs. It's nearly sunset, which means it's time to go find a viewpoint. So I'm heading up towards Namsan Seoul Tower. I don't think I'm gonna go up the actual tower, but hopefully I can find a good viewpoint up the hill. And now I'm finally making my way down again. That was definitely not an easy hike, especially because I'm not feeling 100% today, but the view makes it totally worth it. I mean, seriously, look at how steep this portion is. If you don't want to hike, of course, you can also take the cable car, but I think it's quite expensive. I'll put the price somewhere on the screen. And now I'm going to make my way all the way back down to Myeongdong and find somewhere to eat. Day 2 in Seoul, and my first stop today is Iksan-dong. This is a Hanok village, which basically means it's made up of traditional Korean houses. It is converted into a neighborhood with many restaurants, but it's most famous for its cafes and small bakeries. Today for lunch, I'm eating at a place where you will spot immediately when you enter the area. It's a pot rice restaurant. I've never had this type of Korean food before. Visually speaking, it looks like a dish where they give you a rice pot, and after you eat the rice, you pour the hot broth inside. So you eat the second part of the dish as a soup dish. It looks like this is the hot broth that you're supposed to pour in afterwards, and then you got the actual rice pot here. I got the eggplant one. It looks really interesting because it's like 2 dishes in one. So it seems like I'm supposed to scoop the rice into the stone bowl to eat, and then pour the hot broth into the rest of the scorching rice. Okay, I got my broth soaking, and I'm gonna try the rice now. Oh, that is awesome. The eggplant soaks in the chili and the flavors so well. And actually, this is not a vegetarian dish. There's still some minced meat in the eggplant. Eggplant is such a great ingredient because it literally acts like a sponge. So it soaks in that gochujang soy sauce, a little bit of garlic flavor, and it even has some sweetness to it. And you also get a little bit of that scorched rice in this bowl. So the rice is not just soft, you also get that crispy, crunchy rice as well. I really like this dish. The pot rice itself kind of feels like a bibimbap, but then because of the broth and the additional dish you can create with the broth, it's very unique. Now it's time to have the soup. It was clear before, but the gochujang made it all red already. I'm gonna try a spoonful. The rice is all very soft now. There's still a lot of that spicy flavor. Actually, it kind of feels more like a congee. This dish really makes use of every bit of sauce and flavor because the broth captures all the sauce remaining on the pot and then you drink it all down. Well, that was a very nice meal. And at around $8, it's not expensive either. Afterwards, they gave me a small Yakult drink type of thing for dessert. This place is so popular. It's nearly 3 p.m. right now and there's still a line outside. It feels like the lines at the bakeries here are even crazier than the restaurants. I don't want to line up anymore. As I really love architecture, right now in the afternoon I'm here to check out one of the coolest buildings in Seoul, the Dongdaemun Design Plaza. This building was designed by Zaha Hadid and Samu architects, and it is a cultural center. Seriously, just look at this design. I can't tell what the shape reminds me of. It really is such a cool design. It's not all just curves. There are also many angles as well, but somehow it blends together in harmony. This building is a museum and an exhibition center with different events going on. Like there's some sort of interactive design showcase right now. Looks like there's many of these AI photo booths here. I'm gonna go try one of them out. I think it actually did quite a good job. Even recognized the way I tied my scarf. But the eyebrows are a bit strange though. The sun is nearly setting and that means it's time to go hike up to another viewpoint. Today I'm heading to the Naksan Park. If you want to do the entire trail, it's almost 20 kilometers long following the old city wall. But I think I'm only going to hike a short section. This is directly opposite from the Namsan Seoul Tower I was hiking up towards yesterday. And it looks like the sun is about to dip out from the clouds. If I'll be honest, I think the Namsan view from yesterday was better. But at least here, you don't have to hike up as much, and you still get a perfect view of the sunset. It's a different perspective. A new day in Korea? I was hoping for another bright sunny day, but I got the complete opposite. Good morning from Seoul. As you can tell, it is snowing today. The landscape is completely different from the sunny past few days. In the past November and December, Seoul had record amounts of snowfall. It's so beautiful. But while it is really beautiful when it's snowing, it's still quite inconvenient and uncomfortable to walk around outside. So today I'm going to find some indoor activities to do. Right now I'm here at the National Museum of Korea. But before I go into the museum, I gotta check out this beautiful park in the snow. It really is winter paradise right now. Surprisingly, it's actually warmer today than the past few days. It's -1 right now, when it was like -6 yesterday. And because of that, as you can see, the lake is not actually frozen. When the snow falls down, it melts really quickly. The National Museum of Korea is free to enter for everyone, so that's really appreciated. So I think I'm gonna go explore the museum for a few hours. After exploring the museum in the morning, I made it over to Myeongdong and I'm finally gonna have some Korean barbecue. Thank you to my friend Brian for recommending this restaurant to me. It's actually quite a simple barbecue shop. It's all you can eat. It's mainly pork belly. You get unlimited pork and unlimited soup. But you have to pay for other dishes. The price here is usually 17,900. But if you're going alone, solo traveling, it's 2,000 more expensive, 19,900. Unfortunate that it's more expensive, but I really do want some barbecue, so I'll accept. Okay, I'm gonna start grilling the meat. I'm so excited. I'm gonna start cutting up the meat. This already smells so good. Alright, it is time to try the pork belly. Pork belly has so much fat inside that you really don't need any additional seasoning for it to be super delicious. But of course, in Korean barbecue, we can always use some lettuce to make it slightly healthier. I'm just lying to myself, this isn't healthy, but it's so delicious. I'm here in Korea, I gotta have barbecue at least once, right? Grilled pork belly, it's such a simple dish, I mean, there's no other ingredients to it, but yet it's so good. I don't understand why. Sometimes it's easy to be satisfied. Time for round 2. I'm also gonna try some lean meat this time. I wonder what defines a barbecue as Korean barbecue. Is it the sauce? Is it the way it's cooked? Is it the fact that you eat it with kimchi? I don't know. But either way, I love it. I think I may have cooked the lean meat a bit too long, so now it's dry. The pork belly definitely tastes better, so that's what you should get when you come here. That was a very satisfying meal. I guess the upside is that it's quite affordable. I mean, it's even more affordable if you come with 2 people or more. But the downside is that there's not that much variety. There's only pork belly and this leaner cut of pork. So if you don't eat pork, this is a no-go for you. And there's not that many side dishes either, it's just some lettuce. So now I think this is a good time to come explore around the Myeongdong area. This is one of the biggest shopping areas in all of Seoul. And let's see what sort of stores I can find. I just went into a K-pop store. I mean, I listen to K-pop casually. I'm not a die-hard fan of any group. But wow, I didn't expect idol culture to be so big here. They have stickers, poker cards, photo cards, and just all sorts of different accessories of these idols. And there was another store with many posters of the different artists. And I think fans would write sticky notes on with messages for the artists. Judging by the number of sticky notes on a poster, you can tell which groups are the most popular. Because of all this slush on the ground and this cloudy weather, I think I'm gonna leave Myeongdong, call it a day early, and head back to my hotel. Today is my last day in Seoul, and for the first time in the morning, I got to visit the War Memorial of Korea. Here I'm walking through all of these old planes that fought during the war. I mean, obviously we know that planes are big, but standing underneath them, it's still very staggering. This one right behind me is a US Air Force B-52 bomber. Obviously we learned about it in school, but I feel like my general knowledge of the history of this period is very basic. I think there's also a museum here, so I'm going to go inside and learn about the period of time that shaped the Korean peninsula into what it is today. Oh wow, you can see all the bullet dents on this ship, but I think they're just dents and the ship itself has not actually been punctured, so it's bulletproof. Just like the National Museum, the War Memorial is also free to enter for all visitors. It turns out that while the memorial is dedicated towards the Korean War, the museum in here is actually about many battles and wars throughout all of Korea's history. For example, this battleship behind me is actually from the 1500s. Since this isn't a history video, I'm not gonna give you a lesson about the Korean War. But if you want to learn more about the history of the peninsula, I think this museum is even better than the National Museum, and definitely more engaging for children. Now I think this is probably the coolest hall of the entire museum. This hall is the 2 presidential vehicles of the president of North and South Korea back then. We have this Cadillac that belongs to the former president of South Korea, Syngman-rhee, and also the Soviet-made car that belonged to Kim Il-sung, the first president of North Korea. This Soviet-made limousine is actually a 7-seater. It has 3 rows, but of course it can also be configured into 2 rows and 4 seats for there to be more room. The War Memorial of Korea is a great place to spend an entire morning, especially if you don't want to be outside in the freezing cold. And now, it's time for lunch.
I've made my way to Gyeongju Market. This is probably one of the most famous markets in Seoul. It's a fresh market where they sell fish, produce, but the most famous thing here are its little food stalls in the middle of the market. The stalls seem to sell more or less the same thing, but they're all really full. From kimbap to tteokbokki, different sort of Korean street food. I have to go try some as well. In the end, I got myself some steamed dumplings and a bowl of warm fish cake soup for the cold weather. I'll have some of the soup first since it's really cold outside.
On a cold winter day, this steaming hot soup is just perfect. It really warms your soul. The fish cake is soft, slightly bouncy, and full of that umami seafood taste. The Korean dumplings mandu come in two different flavors, pork and kimchi.
I'm guessing the red one is the kimchi filling.
Both are delicious even without the extra sauce, but I prefer the kimchi one. It still has some pork filling, the hint of sourness and spiciness just make it taste so much better.
Well, that was a good little lunch, but it has to be said, the food in here is not cheap because it's of course tailored towards tourists. Those two dishes added together was 9,000 won. You can find similar dishes in outside food stalls for a lot less. But it's all about the vibe, the environment, and the experience of coming into the market, so I still think it's worth a go. The lady at my stall also spoke English, Japanese, and Mandarin, and it seems like she was able to tell which tourist is from what country, so it's really interesting how she can immediately say that language to the person walking by. Very welcoming and friendly. I think that's why so many people are eating at her stall in particular.
Some other popular items include tteokbokki, which is a spicy rice cake, and of course kimbap, the seaweed rice roll. But since I've already had both of these on this trip, I'll skip them in this market.
Other than the food market, there's also a fabric market here that sells all sorts of different textiles, clothes, and it just goes on and on forever. I've been walking for a long time already and I still cannot see the end of it. I made it to the south side of the river, and it really seems like all the snow melted overnight already. The weather really is not cold enough for the snow to stay here. But that's also good because the sun is out and there's no slush on the ground anymore, so I can finally walk around peacefully again. I made it over to Gangnam. Yes, just like the famous song Gangnam Style. It's really cool that they have a statue here showcasing the Gangnam Style hands. I mean, this really was the biggest thing back in 2012, I believe. I remember back in high school, we even made a short parody of Gangnam Style ourselves. It was such a big pop culture moment back then, and I can still remember those days. In front of the statue, there's actually a video panel where you can play the song.
Oppan Gangnam Style.
And I've made my way inside the Starfield Coex Mall. And of course, the centerpiece of this mall is the very stunning Starfield Library. I think it's actually quite difficult for the camera to capture these sparkly lights. It looks much better in person than on a camera. Everything in here is so sparkly and gold. I wonder what it will look like when it's not the holiday season. This part of Seoul and Gangnam, south of the river, really feels completely different from the north side. Here you have all the financial buildings, the high rises. It feels like a modern CBD rather than an old cultural center.
Before heading to the final stop on my Seoul trip, I found a post office in the mall to send out some of my postcards.
The sun is starting to set, and for my final stop in Seoul, I made it over to the Banpo Hangang Park, I guess during the winter, this is not a popular area to be in. And I think it's starting to snow again. There are these white things drifting in the air, but at the same time, there's still some blue sky. There's like a patch of dark clouds right over here in front of me.
Even though there's nobody else here, under the backdrop of the golden sunset with flurries in the air, this might just be the best way to end my trip here in Seoul. Today I am leaving Seoul and heading to the small historical city of Gyeongju.
Right now I'm at the Seoul Express bus terminal waiting for my bus. The fastest way to get from Seoul to Gyeongju is actually by the KTX railway. It will take you around 2 hours, but it's not the most convenient way to go because the KTX station is actually located 40 minutes away from the downtown area, but the bus terminal is located right inside the downtown area. So I'm going to take the bus there. It will take around 3.5 hours, but when I arrive, it will be right in the city center. And that's way more convenient than having to take another taxi or public bus from the train station. The bus is very spacious. It's 2 seats on one side and 1 seat on the other side. The seats are quite wide and comfortable, actually. I think this is definitely more comfortable than taking the train. I had to wake up quite early to catch this bus, so I'm going to take a nap now and see you guys in Gyeongju. So I've arrived in the World Heritage City of Gyeongju. I just dropped off my bags at the hotel, and now I'm just walking about in this little park. Back in ancient Korea, Gyeongju was the capital of the Silla dynasty. And all these mounds you see right here are Silla tombs. They really look kind of strange, just small little mountains popping off from the ground. Gyeongju is known to be the city built on top of tombs. Obviously right now in the winter, it's low season for Gyeongju. All of the grass is yellow, but during the summer and spring, this entire field will be completely lush green. But it's okay, even though it's not as beautiful in the winter, it's low season, so there's barely anyone here. So I get to explore this area in complete peace and quiet.
After a short stroll, I decided to work for a bit in the afternoon. Tomorrow, I'll continue exploring Gyeongju. Good morning from Gyeongju. Before exploring the central area today, I am first heading a little further away to the famous Bukoksa temple.
It will take around 30 minutes to get to the temple. Today is the coldest day of the entire Korea trip. It is negative 10 degrees right now, that's why I'm all wrapped up. So for my first stop today in Gyeongju, I made it over to the Bukoksa temple. It's around 12 kilometers away from the city center, but you can easily come here by bus. You used to have to buy a ticket to enter this temple, now it's completely free, but of course you can always give a donation if you want. I feel like winter is probably not the best time to come here or to come to Gyeongju in general, but I think it does give a very unique feeling. Instead of the green leaves, I get these barren branches and a very thin layer of white snow.
Bukoksa is one of the most important Buddhist temples in all of Korea. Originally built in 528, rebuilt and expanded during the 8th century, it was a centerpiece of the Silla kingdom. The entire complex is a series of wooden buildings built on top of stone terraces. However, since most of the halls are made of wood, it has been destroyed and restored multiple times over the centuries, with only the stone base surviving.
It's really so calm and serene here in the winter, and I feel like the white snow gives this place an even purer feeling.
The most famous structures in the entire temple are the two pagodas, both designated as national treasures of the country. Today, Bugoksa is listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. When you visit Boguksa, you can also check out the Sokulam Grotto a couple kilometers down the road. But my body is in desperate need of some heat right now, so unfortunately I'm gonna skip that and head back to the city.
So I've made it back to the city center to get something to eat for lunch. Today it's -12 to -4. And this is already the southernmost part of Korea in Gyeongju. So yeah, did not expect this weather. I can't be outside for too long, so I have to do intervals to see all the sights. But anyways, I got some brisket soup and some grilled mackerel for lunch. It's like a whole set. It's so nice to have something warm right now. Boiling hot soup, perfect in this weather. The grilled mackerel was pretty good as well, tender and perfectly cooked. Well, that was a good meal. I feel like after some hot food, my body is revived again and I have the energy to go outside. It's still gonna be freezing cold, but at least I'll have the energy to walk. So after lunch, I made my way to the Cheonsomdae Observatory. This is like the landmark of Gyeongju. But I've got to say, looking at it like this, it's a lot smaller than I expected. Built during the Silla times, this observatory is the oldest one in Korea, and it might even be the oldest surviving observatory from East Asia. Apparently, it was built using exactly 362 stones, representing the days of the lunar year.
Even in those ancient times, the Silla kingdom was able to use the observatory to track celestial movements and predict weather patterns, which of course also helped with agriculture. It's always hard to fathom how ancient civilizations figured all this out. A few minutes walk away, you can also check out Gyeongju, a stunning bridge crossing the Namcheon River. The bridge once served as a gateway to the city. However, the original structure was long destroyed, and the one you see here was built in 2018 based on historical plans. Right by the bridge is the Gyeongju village, a small Hanok folk village. However, it feels like none of the stores are open right now.
Wow, this place really is completely deserted. I don't think I would suggest anyone coming here in the winter. Ooh.
All the other sites have visitors in the winter. Here, literally zero. It's kind of a spooky feeling with this strong wind as well. Okay, I think it's best to return to somewhere with people.
I have made it over to my final location of the day, and probably the most famous thing in Gyeongju, the Daeungwon Tomb Complex. I heard from some people that you need to buy a ticket to come in here, but today they seem to be just letting people in, so I'm not sure if you actually need to pay or not.
The name Daeungwon literally means the Great Tomb Garden. It's a burial site for the Silla kings and queens. These tombs have a wooden chamber on the inside, stone reinforcements that give them their mound shape, and a final earth covering on the outside. This makes robbery very difficult, which is why many of the artifacts are preserved.
This certainly is a very interesting looking tomb complex, and you're definitely not allowed to climb it. You'll get fined and up to 2 years in prison. So stay on the trails and don't go up there.
But while you're not allowed to climb on top of it, you're actually allowed to enter one of these tombs.
So as it turns out, this area is free to enter, but you need to pay an extra ticket if you want to go inside the Cheongmachong tomb, which is like the major tomb. Since I'm here, I might as well go inside. I think it's like a small museum, and it costs 3,000 won to enter. So let's go see what's inside. Cheongmachong literally means the tomb of the heavenly horse. That's why throughout this area you can see so many horse-related imagery. And inside you can even see some artifacts that have crossed the ancient Silk Road all the way from Europe to the Silla Kingdom, which is pretty incredible all those years ago.
If you like history and want to look at more artifacts, there are many more on display at the Gyeongju National Museum. But it's closing soon and it's a little bit too late for me to visit.
In the end, I think this tomb complex is great to visit even during the winter time. But if you do have a chance to come when it's warmer, I highly recommend that. I mean, just look at this wind right now. Ooh. Okay, I need to go somewhere warm.
When people think of travel in South Korea, places like Seoul, Busan, and Jeju are usually the only destinations most tourists visit. But Gyeongju was a perfect day-and-a-half trip to escape from the large cities and learn about the history of ancient Korea. The entire city feels like an open-air museum, and it's not the ultra-modern metropolis we usually associate with this country. If you're traveling from Seoul to Busan or vice versa, I highly recommend stopping by Gyeongju. Even though I did not experience it for myself, I believe it's an absolute must visit during the warmer months. Just imagine all of this, but in lush green.
Good morning, I am back at the bus terminal and today I'm taking the bus from Gyeongju to Busan. Again, I'm not taking the rail because the Gyeongju railway station is just too far away. But even though the bus station in Busan is also in the middle of nowhere, at least it's on a subway line, so I think I can get to my hotel very easily. It'll be like a 55-minute bus ride from Gyeongju to the Busan bus station. Again, the buses are very comfortable here, the seats are spacious, and it doesn't take that much longer than the high-speed train. In just a little more than 50 minutes, I arrived in Busan, and now I have to take another 50-minute subway ride to my hotel. This bus station is really far away from the city center, but it's good that it's on a subway line at least. I have to take the subway for around 20 something stops. Luckily, the bus station is the first stop on the subway line, so you'll always get empty seats. On this Busan trip, I am staying in the Nampo area. It's not the most central area, but it's close to many markets, so there will be lots of good street food to eat in the coming days. Over here used to also be where the Busan International Film Festival was held, but I think they have since moved it to a different location. Even so, the street celebrating the festival still exists here, and they have their own little avenue of stars. Let's see if I recognize some of the names or not. Here we have legendary actor Tony Leung. I'm sorry to say I don't actually recognize most of these names. Maybe I haven't watched enough movies. Before I explore more of this area, I'm kind of hungry, so lunchtime first. I got myself some ox bone soup. This is perfect for the cold weather these days. Something warm and nice. The soup is really rich, and there's some thinly sliced pieces of beef here as well. I was looking at how the people in the other tables are eating the dish, and some people pour like half of their rice into the soup. So I'm gonna do that as well. The rice should soak up all that beefy goodness from the broth. I know there's a very famous dish from this region called gukbak, which you're supposed to have the rice inside the soup. But this dish also has noodles inside, so I don't think it's a gukbak, but it's very similar, I think. Whether this is the correct way to eat it or not, I don't know. I'm just following what the locals are doing. But it turns it into this ox bone congee, which is pretty delicious. A bowl of warm soup like this is so healing in this cold weather. It's supposed to get a little bit warmer in the coming days, so during the daytime it will be above 0, and during the nighttime it will be negative. So hopefully I'll be able to explore Busan in a slightly better temperature. I was literally just looking for a shopping mall to use the bathroom, and I came to this Lotte Mall, and it turns out on the rooftop there's a free observation deck. It's so beautiful here, and nobody knows about it. There is literally 0 people here right now. I get the whole observation deck to myself, and you get a perfect panoramic view of Busan, every single angle. Wow. Well, that was a very nice little observatory. I think it will look even better during sunset. Maybe I'll come back again on another day. But today, I got other plans, and hopefully it'll be just as beautiful.
While Busan does have a subway, the easiest way to get to many popular sites is by bus, especially those on the mountains and hilltops.
Busan is known to be a very hilly city, so it can be a problem and very tiring for the residents if they sort of live in between 2 major roads on a hillside. You have to do a lot of climbing uphill or climbing downhill. So the people here thought of a solution, to use monorails or little funiculars to get them up the hill. The first one I'm going to is called the Soman Stairs monorail, and this one is very special because it's actually suspended in mid-air instead of going on a track on the bottom.
Looking at the speed the carriage is going, I think I can walk up faster than it. But it should be very helpful for the elderly people who live here.
It certainly is very, very, very slow.
Since there's nobody else here, I'm gonna give it a go.
But if you do come here and want to ride this monorail, only ride it if there are nobody else waiting in line. If there's a resident who wants to use it, definitely let the resident go first, because first and foremost, this is a transportation device for the residents of this alleyway. I also really like how the entire alleyway is very colorful, with vibrant tiles on the steps, painted walls, and of course the monorail carriage itself in a lovely green. When most modern cities are rather monochromatic, Busan still has bright, welcoming colors in its skyline. I feel like even just being here for less than half a day, I already love Busan so much. I just love the mountainous city, how the city looks like it's layers upon layers. And I also like that Busan is a coastal city, so in some points you can look at the vast ocean. This combination is my absolute favorite. I feel like in a way, Busan kind of reminds me of another city I love very much, Nagasaki, Japan. It has a very similar layout. They're both port cities. They're both very hilly and mountainous cities. It's so nice here. Even right now in the winter when it's so cold, I still really enjoy it here. Near the Jung'an Park area I'm at right now, one of the best places in all of Busan to see the skyline at night is the Gyeongju Hanolun Observation Deck. Here you can see the harbor bridge in the background and Busan Tower rising above the skyline. There's something calming about watching the city light up and the sky gradually change color from blue to light purple. When solo traveling, slowing down and enjoying moments like this is probably my favorite activity. Day 2 in Busan, and today I'm heading to the place I'm looking forward to the most on this trip. It's another beautiful day here. Every day the temperature is getting warmer, which is very nice. And today I've made it over to the Gamcheon village. If you search up Busan on Google or something, this is probably the image that will come up, with all these colorful buildings on the hill. It really is a workout hiking up this village. There's so many steps. After hiking up all those steps, I think I finally reached the more commercialized area of the Gamcheon village. There are many souvenir shops, cafes along this street, and also lots of murals as well. Gotta pose with BTS. Originally built in the 1920s, Gamcheon village did not always have the colorful image it has today. It was a neighborhood for the lower working class, and later a refugee settlement after the Korean War. The village conditions were very poor. However, in 2009, the government launched a public art project to revitalize the area into a cultural hub. With murals, sculptures, and colorful decorations, Gamcheon village transformed into what it is today. On this street, I just found a very nice little postcard shop, and I bought 3 postcards, each for 1,000 won. The postcards really make Busan and Gamcheon village look like a place from a fairy tale. It's so beautiful. All of these cafes should have really nice views of the entire village. I'm gonna go up there and see if I can find a good spot. Well, that was definitely a very lovely cafe, especially if you're able to get the window seat. You get this perfect framing of the village in the background. But if you cannot get the window seat, the terrace is still quite nice as well. In the winter, it's just a bit cold, but in the summer, it'll be perfect. It's called Cafe from Choi. There's so many people here taking this fortune vaulting. I think it's similar to like the omikuji you will get in a Japanese temple. You're supposed to get the one that corresponds to your Chinese zodiac sign. So here's my little ball, and I'm gonna break it open and see what's inside. Moment of truth. Let's see what I got. Okay, it's in Korean, so I'm gonna have to use Google Translate. Google Translate probably doesn't give the best translation, but it says, the intention to advance and achieve is to eat a lot of food and be centered and to be calm. Whatever that's supposed to mean. And then it sort of gives you a breakdown of each month of the year, but I don't think I'm gonna read it all. I think Gamcheon is definitely a must-visit place in Busan, but most of it is still actually residential building. So when you're walking around the alleyways, walking around the little streets and staircases, you're going through where people live. So do be respectful, don't make too much of a noise, and don't bother the locals who are still living here. Before leaving the village, I'm gonna get something to eat first. Right by the bus station, I randomly found this little shop that serves various Korean dishes. I got this. It's called a dosirok, which is basically like a Korean bento. From the picture on the wall, it looked very interesting. Never had this before, but let's see what's inside. The dosirok includes a fried egg, anchovies, fish cake, and some sausages. It looks like half of these are cold dishes. I think this version here might be a replica of the one they served in Squid Game. It looks like the egg yolk is still running. I'm gonna pop it open. Give it a little mix and hopefully get a spoonful that has all the ingredients inside. I like it. It's a mixture of different textures, the crunchy and salty anchovies, plus the soft fish cake. This really feels like a typical Korean home-cooked meal. Maybe something your family members will make for you when you go to school, when you go to work, something you eat on a train, I don't know. I guess the whole bento box presentation makes it feel very homey. Well, that was a surprisingly nice little meal. I mean, it doesn't feel like restaurant food, it really does feel like home cooking. The bento box itself may not look too spectacular, but trust me, the flavors are really good. Okay, now it's time to say goodbye to Gamcheon village and I'm gonna head somewhere else. In the afternoon, I made my way to another cultural village, the Hwinyeong Cultural Village. This one is right next to the ocean. This small village is on the Yeongdong Island in the south part of Busan. Similar to the Gamcheon village, there's also many cafes and souvenir shops along this coastline. This village does feel calmer and slightly less touristy than Gamcheon, but their history is very similar. Hwinyeong began as a residential area for people displaced during the war, and was later revitalized by artists. The white and blue color scheme makes it feel like Busan's version of Santorini. And of course for me, anywhere with an ocean view makes me happy. It turns out this village is a lot smaller than I expected, and it also got a bit cloudy in the afternoon, so it's now a little bit colder than it is in the morning. I already had a coffee today, so I don't think I'm gonna go to another coffee shop. If I have more than one coffee in a day, I won't be able to sleep at all. It's still quite nice sitting on this swing, looking out into the ocean. I guess I'll save some energy and call it a day a bit earlier today.
Day 3 in Busan, and before exploring the city today, I just want to show you the view from my hotel. The hotel itself is very average, but it's awesome waking up to an ocean view like this. For lunch today, I'm going to a place that is famous for its banchan, which are Korean side dishes. But here, the side dishes are just as popular as the main course.
Today for lunch near the Biff Square, I got a Korean set menu with 7 different side dishes. You order like a main dish, I got a tofu stew, and of course it comes with all this banchan. There's some tteokbokki, it looks like this is some fish cake, egg, kimchi, and the rice they give you is not white rice, it's like this purple forbidden rice type of thing. Okay, time to try the food. Of course I gotta try the tofu stew first, the star of the set menu. Look at that silken tofu coated in that broth. It's so good, just the perfect amount of spice. And the tofu doesn't completely disintegrate. I know sometimes when you eat soft tofu stew, the tofu sort of just melts and dissolves into the soup. The green onions and pork inside also give it a little crunch, so it's not just the soft tofu. If you like Korean food but don't want something that's way too spicy, this is a good choice. It's like this mild little spice, just tingling on your tongue. The banchan here is sort of like what you would get in the street food stalls in the Biff Square, like tteokbokki and fish cake. So it's good that they have it as part of the set menu in this restaurant. Gonna try a piece of the tteokbokki, the spicy rice cake. Tteokbokki is still definitely one of the best Korean snacks. Has this thick spicy sauce, but again, not overpowering with the spice. I feel like the spiciness in tteokbokki is like sweet and spicy combined together, so it's not something that will punch you in the face, it's really well balanced. Now I'm gonna try a piece of this omelet. Oh, that is not an omelet, it's actually a pancake. The color is similar to an egg, that's why I thought it was an omelet, but actually I think the color just comes from the kimchi that's mixed in with the dough. Oh, it's really good. You're always going to get banchan side dishes in these Korean meals, but the quality of the banchan definitely varies depending on where you go. In this restaurant, the 7 side dishes shine as much as the main dish. I just love this way of eating in Korea. Even if you just order one dish, you get so much variety that comes with it. It's awesome. My favorite side dish was surprisingly this pancake, and the second will probably be the tteokbokki. I think that was the best 9,000 won I spent in Korea so far. It's in a very touristy area, but it's definitely not touristy prices. Highly recommend. After lunch, it's time for a short walk. I'm going to head over to the Yeondu-san Park near the Busan Tower. It's very close to the Biff Square, maybe like a 5-10 minute walk, and you don't need to hike up, you can just take the escalator. This little hill is actually a lot lower than I expected. I think the main viewpoint is up on the Busan Tower, but I don't think I'm going to go up there today. It's quite expensive, and I think nearby mountain ranges or maybe even the Lotte Mall will have a similar view. But I think even if you don't go up to the Busan Tower, it's still a nice park to be at. I mean, the Busan Tower is one of the landmarks of the city, so at least just come here and take a look. I saw this bird in so many different places on this Busan trip. I was wondering what it was, why is it so common? It kind of looks like a chicken or something, but no, it's actually a seagull. This is Boogie the seagull, the mascot of Busan. It became the mascot of Busan in 2002. It's always quite cute when a city has a mascot, so it becomes like a souvenir and a good way of marketing the city as well. But I think since it's winter, I haven't actually seen any real seagulls in Busan yet.
The Busan Tower was built in the 70s. However, unlike many tower structures around the world, this one does not have any TV broadcasting or transmitting equipment. It's purely used as an entertainment and tourist landmark. If you want to go up, it costs 12,000 won. But since Busan is a naturally mountainous city, I don't think going up to a man-made observation tower like this is worth it. Tonight, I'm heading to a high viewpoint on Yeondo Island that will give you another great perspective of the city.
Everywhere I go, I try to visit at least one museum. And since Busan is such an important maritime city, I decided to come to the Maritime Museum of Korea here on Yeondu Island. The museum is free to enter, so I'm just gonna walk around in here. It turns out that while I'm here, many parts of the museum are under renovation. Of course it is. But it's okay. This place still has an amazing ocean view. So I'm just gonna take a short stroll by the ocean and go catch the sunset somewhere else. While the ocean view here is nice, it's definitely not the most famous coastline in Busan. Tomorrow I have one last full day here, and I'm going to visit the east side of Busan, which is probably the area that Busan is the most well known for. So I have that to look forward to. But tonight I still want to go somewhere and catch the sunset. I may or may not make it because I just missed a bus, but even if I miss the sunset, hopefully the night view will still be nice. After a crazy minibus ride, I arrived at the lookout. And at nighttime, it's once again super cold. I did miss the sunset, but at least there's this night view. And I think in the end, it's still all worth it. There really are so many great lookouts in Busan, and every single angle gives you a different view of the city. I feel like this is like the third lookout I've been to already. This one has this perfect view of the bridge. Busan really is a place that has such a unique cityscape. It's not uniform. There's mountains, there's the harbor, there's the typical flat metropolitan city, but at the same time, there's a fishing village vibe to it as well. It's really such a beautiful city. So I made it down from the mountain and I'm back at the Biff Square area. Tonight I'm at a very interesting restaurant for dinner. Here you order a main dish, and then instead of getting banchan like the usual Korean restaurants, they have a mini buffet for all the side dishes and it's all you can eat. So the main dish I got is a pork cutlet. Obviously that's not all you can eat, but then you can get all sorts of side dishes. They have tteokbokki, they have glass noodles, pork, kimchi, pancakes, everything you can possibly expect as a side dish from a Korean restaurant they have here. The pork is super tender, still juicy inside, and so well battered as well. I like that the batter is quite flaky. I'm gonna try the japchae, one of my favorite Korean dishes. It's this glass noodle dish.
There's this bouncy texture, it's savory, and the sesame oil flavor is very strong as well, just how I like it.
I'm not sure how common this concept is in Korea to have the banchan as an unlimited buffet, but I really like it. If you're an adult, you have to order a main course, but if you have children, you can pay an extra 8,000 won for them to just have the buffet. As for the main dishes, the menu is actually not that big. It's mainly soup dishes. but there is that one deep fried pork cutlet, and I highly recommend choosing that one.
Even though the film festival is now held in Haeundae, which is the district I'm heading to tomorrow, it's still awesome to see the celebration of film culture here around Biff Square.
Even though I'm quite full already, before I leave the Biff Square, there's one last thing I have to try. It's called a hot dog. From what I can tell, it's like a little pancake, and the filling inside, it's seeds. I never had something like this before, but the store owner said it's a very traditional thing from Busan. Let's try it. I think it's sweet. I think it's a dessert. I like it. The outer shell is sugary and it sort of has a texture of like a crispy mochi. It's soft, even though it's deep fried, but inside you have the nuts, so it gives it this crunchy texture. You can taste the cinnamon inside, but the sweetness is not overpowering, which is good. And I guess since the seeds fall out so easily, they give it to you in a cup. Really nice snack. If you're around this area, there's so many stalls selling this, I think. But the one I went to, they claim to be the one that's the most famous. Good morning, today is my last day here in Busan, and of course there is still one last area I have not been to yet, the Hyundai area. It's a bit further away, I have to take a 70-minute bus ride to get there, but hopefully it'll be worth it because that supposedly is the most beautiful area of Busan. Well, that was certainly a very long bus ride, but I finally reached the entry point to my first location of the day. Now there's still another 10-minute hike to get there. Not that bad considering the temperature is finally warmer and the weather is beautiful today. So here I am at the Haedan Yeongeungsa Temple. This temple is famous for being right next to the ocean, so it has this beautiful coastline view. Isn't this just a great place to put a temple? I just love being next to the ocean. If you want, you can also get one of these gold leaves to write down your best wishes. It costs 5,000 won.
On the bridge that connects the two sides of the temple, you can participate in a lucky coin divination. I believe you're supposed to make a wish and then toss a coin down. If your coin lands in the bowl, your wish will come true.
It seems quite difficult. I'm gonna try. Well, I missed completely. Over here at the main hall, there are many different prayers and donations you can make. You can buy a candle. You can donate a tile to the roof and write your prayers on there. And of course, you can also still get the gold leaves. But I think it's all cash only here, unfortunately. Whew, and now it's the tough part. You have to take all these steps back up to the very top. There's even a traffic safety pagoda here with a tire monument. Doesn't really suit the aesthetic of this temple. But I think you're supposed to rub it and it will grant you safety for your travels. The temple itself is not that big, but I still think it's worth visiting if you're in this area anyways, especially just for that ocean view. I've made it over to my second spot of the day, Songjiang Beach. It's not exactly beach season right now since it is the winter time, but it still feels so nice walking by the ocean. Here they're finding some of Busan's spirit animal, the seagull. It's interesting, these seagulls are not like the typical large, annoying seagulls that you will find in Europe or North America. They're quite small and cute. And they're all sort of just in one place, standing still, resting, I guess. Okay, now it's understandable that Busan has its mascot as a seagull, if it's this type of cute seagull. For lunch today, I found a burger spot by the beach. There's nobody else here. I guess beaches really aren't popular during the winter time. But it's okay, the burger looks pretty good and I get the whole restaurant to myself. And of course, best of all, I get this perfect view of the beach right in front of me. The burger is actually pretty good. Nice beef patty with some mushrooms, lettuce, and tomatoes inside. I can't believe there's actually someone paddleboarding out there. It must be deathly cold if you fall in right now. So lunchtime over, now I'm going to head to the Cheonsapo area, which is probably the most famous area on this coastline. The easiest way to get to Cheonsapo is of course by taking the seaside train. And then from Cheonsapo you can take the capsules. But since I have a lot of time today, I decided to just skip the train and have a nice walk by the ocean. Here there's a walkway that loops out onto the ocean, and parts of it have glass floors. So if you're afraid of heights, don't look down. Okay, I'll be honest, even though I'm not afraid of heights, it still feels kind of sketchy when it's all this glass floor. So I'm standing on the parts that have supports.
After a very peaceful walk by the ocean, I made it over to Cheonsapo. For most people visiting Busan, this is the starting point for the famous capsule railway that takes you all the way to Haeundae Beach. But even if you're only here to take the capsules, you should definitely still spend some time exploring this small fishing village.
The most iconic thing here in Cheonsapo, other than the capsule train, is of course these two lighthouses, one white, one red. The water is so blue today that the red and white just give off perfect reflections. And right there in the distance, of course, there are the viral capsule trains. I'm not going to take them alone today, but when Rika and I come back to Busan together another time, we're definitely going to take the capsules. I guess the capsules do look quite fun for couples and families. If you do take the capsule, remember to reserve your time slot beforehand. Otherwise, you might get assigned a random time slot and you'll have to wait quite a while to board the train.
For those of you not taking the capsule, don't worry. With the vast ocean on one side and the cute trains passing by on the other, I think this walkway is one of the best places to spend an afternoon in Busan. Finally, I made it to Haeundae Beach, the final stop of my Busan trip. And it seems like Busan's spirit animals are much more lively here.
So at the end of this trip, even though I enjoyed it, I still have to admit, winter is not the best time to come to Korea. I'm only here right now because the Korean won is the lowest it has been for almost 3 years. And plus, it's off-season anyways, so this trip ended up being very affordable. It costed me less than $800 including plane tickets in and out of Korea. And other than the fact that it is cheaper, right now during off-season there's fewer tourists as well. So if you want to come to Korea and avoid the crowds, maybe winter is a good time to come. I think the best part of winter is if you're lucky, you get to see snow. In the couple of days in Seoul and Gyeongju when it snowed, it was absolutely magical. So if you're not afraid of the cold, absolutely do come during the winter time. But otherwise, spring and summer will probably be better off for you. Before I leave Busan, I'll leave you guys with these beautiful views of Haeundae Beach.